This is the Our York Media Podcast, an audio and video production that features the good news makers of York County, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Rebecca Hanlon. I'm sitting down with Thais Carrero, but before we jump into our conversation, we want to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Gladfelter Insurance Group. We appreciate their support of our Good News Initiative and giving us the opportunity to highlight nonprofits and those involved in them who are making a difference in York County. Thais, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So in your introduction, I could have listed off a little bit of a bio, but it would involve listing numerous organizations that you've been involved in and touched in the time that you've been in York. So instead of me doing it, I'm going to allow you to give us, if you will, a brief introduction to who you are.
Yes, well, I am born and raised in Puerto Rico. That's where all this influence comes from. Moved to Pennsylvania almost 3 years ago and pretty much started getting involved in different organizations to help out the community, from the Cultural Alliance of York County, Latinos Unidos of York, York Excel, the United Way, even party-affiliated organizations, just to make our community better.
So tell us a little bit about what brought you to York County in particular.
I originally came to the United States, to Washington, D.C. to complete 2 internships. And then during the second one, I was in a long-distance relationship that started when I was in Puerto Rico, and I decided to give it a shot because we had been together for years in a long-distance relationship. Yeah. And that also Puerto Rican guy was based here in York. Okay. And I said, I'll just give it a try. And I would always say that I would never leave Puerto Rico because of the crises, and I felt like they needed me there. But when I completed these internships, I realized that there were different ways to help not only Puerto Rico, but also Puerto Ricans, the Latino community, and the community in general here. So York became my home, started pretty much meeting people and getting involved, and I'm in love with York now.
So when you first came to York, it seems like at least you really got involved head first. Like there wasn't a whole lot of hesitation, at least surface wise. So, because how long have you been in York now?
Almost 3 years.
Okay.
Next month.
In those 3 years, you listed off really kind of a resume full of organizations that you've touched. And I've been in York for about 10, and my list is way smaller, I'm sad to say. So I'm just kind of curious for you, why get involved being new here? Why so many different organizations?
When I decided to stay, I think I stayed, but I made a selfish decision because I always thought about others, about Puerto Rico. And then I said, I need to think about me and about my future, so I'll stay. And basically, it took me a couple months to find a job within my background, which is communications. Okay. I worked in retail and I did, a couple things, but there was always something missing. Even when I found a job in my expertise area, there was always something missing. That feeling of home. I would try to go to work and come back home, and I would cry sometimes because there was something missing, like that connection to the community that I always had in Puerto Rico. And I decided to get involved. It actually all started in a party affiliated meeting. Okay. And then I started getting involved. I started meeting extraordinary people that invited me to other organizations as well. And here we are 3 years later.
What was it like for you when you first came to York? You mentioned you'd been in the U.S. for a time with your internships. Was it different for you then to transition into living in York? What was it like for you, that kind of initial introduction?
Absolutely. When I left Puerto Rico, I honestly left to complete 2 internships and go back. And then during those internships, one was with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and the other one with the National Council of La Raza, which is a Latino civil rights organization. Those experiences helped me realize that there are many other things happening, and not just, Puerto Rico is facing many, many challenges, but there's only so much you can do being there with the whole political situation and the political status. And like setting my mindset that I am here now for good was kind of hard. I do have some family here, but my immediate family is back in Puerto Rico. Okay. So it was hard. I only had my boyfriend and his family here. So, and they were, and they still are, a big support, but that support that I always had every day from my mom was really like missing there. It was a hard transition. Like I said, it was hard finding a job that I actually liked, that I would enjoy every day, where I could make a contribution, and not only like doing my job every day, but where I could go further and do things for the community through my job. So it was hard, but it was just a matter of time. You just keep trying, and things will fall in place.
Were you as involved in the community that you lived in Puerto Rico?
I was involved in many organizations, and I would say the most, or the biggest one, was the zero waste movement, environmental movement in Puerto Rico. There's a big problem with trash and landfills, and there's not enough space. So we kind of started a culture of recycling, and we got legislation passed to, encourage recycling and like ban plastic bags and things like that. So that was probably
cool work.
One of the biggest accomplishments.
When you looked for organizations in York County that would mean something to you, that could, kind of fill that gap for you that you were looking for, what led you to the organizations that you chose?
Probably their values. We share the values and the work that we're passionate about. Not just helping our communities be better, but encouraging others to make change as well.
So far in the different things that you've gotten involved in, are there experiences that you've had that have kind of stood out to you that, either impacted you personally or made you feel like, this is home, that, York is this place that kind of eventually filled that gap?
In one of the organizations that I'm part of, York Excel, we started a program of teaching Spanish to people in the area. And for me, it was just funny that it wasn't actually our idea. It was from the community members genuinely care about their neighbors. They weren't able to communicate with their neighbors to share experiences and background and just have everyday conversations. So the fact that came from the community was a huge deal. And because someone asked us to do that, we said we got to make it happen, because this will make our community better.
What sort of things did you learn from that program?
Just that people actually care, that we are not alone in this battle. Sometimes, in talking about the Latino community, sometimes we feel like we're fighting a monster here. Nobody understands the struggles that we go through. But having people that truly care and that want to get involved and that genuinely want to learn about our culture and about our backgrounds to help us succeed as well. I mean, it's just great.
I know, York XL is one in particular with some of those Spanish classes that you were able to help be a part of. But I know the United Way, which you're a part of, has done a lot in terms of trying to address different issues that we see in York County in regards to the Latino community. They've released studies, and we can see very plainly where we're failing that demographic. Why is that work important to you in particular? Obviously, because you're living here in York as home, and you want to support people who are in that situation. But I'm just wondering for you, you could live here and build that life with your boyfriend and start that. But why for you was it so important to actually be part of some action and progress?
I think, and that's a lesson probably that my mom taught me. I can't be happy if people around me are not happy. I can't succeed if everybody else is falling behind. So I think it's just my duty to take action, because if nobody else does it, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? So I think I was born with that. My mom is a nurse.
Okay.
So I was kind of born into that, community work aspect, and I think it's in my blood.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely just trying to help our communities be better.
Yeah. What do you see York doing well when it comes to celebrating the diverse cultures that we have here, in particular the Latino population?
I think that from what I've heard, of course, I'm not a York native, but there's been a lot of progress, and a lot of people and organizations are realizing that for York to become, a true power, we must be inclusive, and we must recognize that we all contribute to the success of our area. So the fact that we are doing First Friday Latino, the fact that people are embracing our Spanish classes, the fact that we are distributing more Spanish books through the United Way, it just shows you that there is people that care.
What are some other programs or initiatives that might be going on that people might not be aware of when it comes to really assisting that demographic through any of the organizations that you are involved in or things that you've heard of?
Through York Excel, of course, the Spanish classes, and we're doing a lot of direct community work. We visit neighborhoods to see what their needs are, to come up with solutions, not only to present them to the community, but more of the community generating those solutions.
Okay.
Through Latinos Unidos of York and the New American Welcoming Center, we basically, people call, say what they need in terms of social service, and we'll connect them with the proper agencies. United Way, through their York Reads program, not only they're encouraging Latino families to have books and different education initiatives in Latino households, but they're also encouraging non-Latino households to read in Spanish and learn in Spanish, so we can take down those barriers that currently exist.
What kind of impact do you see these efforts making? I mean, what do you kind of look back on and feel really proud of when it comes to having a hand in those things?
When people just walk to us and talk about our efforts, talk about the different initiatives that they are seeing and how Latinos are doing better, that just, that's just totally worth it, because we realize that people are recognizing the work that pretty much all the organizations in York are doing.
What do you think we need to do more of?
I think that open more channels for Latinos, and it's sad to say this, that we need to, and not only with Latinos, but with minorities in general, that we need to check the boxes just to make sure that everybody is included. I hope that we get to a point that we don't need to check the boxes. But at this point in time in history, it's important for everybody to be at the table. And for the Latino community as well, we need to continue opening doors for those coming behind us. There are a lot of Latinos that are connected, but it's our responsibility to open the doors for the people that are behind us.
So you've been in York for 3 years now. You probably know certain areas of York better than others because you've gotten so involved, and I really think that's one of the best ways to know the community. But what do you think has kept you here for those 3 years? Because you could have decided at one point. Obviously, you have your boyfriend, and that's probably we don't want to give him all the credit for keeping you here. What do you think when it comes to York? Something that kind of pulls on your heart as something that has kept you?
Honestly, the challenge. I like a good challenge, and I see the progress that we've made. It might not be huge, just yet, but I know we're going to get there. And just the fact that there's a challenge there, that we can make something happen, that we could build something, it's what's keeping me here, because I have a responsibility to build something to make my community better.
Now that you've had a chance to really kind of get a feel for the community and make yourself part of it in a very impactful way, what are things that you like about York and being in York?
I like the people of York. You can hear many things about the York community and what has happened in the past, but my experience, I've met so many amazing people that I honestly have nothing bad to say. In fact, on the contrary, people are just opening doors for me. And I think that's just great. The infrastructure, the historical areas, they're amazing. York is beautiful. So I definitely say the people, the infrastructure.
I know in particular, earlier this year, I know this because I was part of the event, but you were recognized by the Junior League of York for being as active as you are in the community and an up-and-comer. And you had family come to that awards ceremony. What was it like for you to, be in a community that you're fairly new in, but you've made such an impact that people want to, thank you for that, because not everybody does that. What's it like to have, your family come and see that you've, embedded yourself in a way that deserves that?
I think that is a way to honor my mom for all she has done for me, because she still does for me. It was very, very meaningful to have them here, because I don't get to share with them every day. They're there in Puerto Rico. And just the fact that I am, just doing work. I didn't just leave Puerto Rico. I am representing Puerto Rico here. I'm representing Pennsylvania, a new community that adopted me. I think they're very, very proud of that. And yeah, it was just great to have them here.
That's cool. You mentioned that your mom in particular inspired you, being a nurse, being very giving. Have you found locally anyone that's been a good mentor for you, that's, inspired you in the things that you're doing, or you've really learned from them in that time?
Honestly, more than a person, there are many people that inspire me today, but I've really, I went through the Leadership York training program this past year, and that experience was very enlightening. We learned about York history, arts and culture, health, poverty, pretty much every aspect of life in the York area. And the people of Leadership York are committed to developing, people that are interested in making a difference in the community. And that is something that I really admire, the fact that they're training people to become the leaders of the future, of the present and the future. I really, really admire Leadership York and their staff.
Yeah, that's very cool. Are there ways that you yourself try to be an example to those who might, come ahead of you, young Latinas that are, coming up, showing them how to be involved in the community? Because we all know there's not enough women in leadership positions, but in particular, like, Latinos in some of these positions, you don't often see strong female representation. Do you feel yourself in some ways that you want to be that, or am I throwing like a curveball at you?
No, I mean, I personally, it's not about myself. I think it's important to have someone that people can look up to, but it shouldn't be about that person. It's always about empowering others to become that person. So I think that honestly, through the work that we are doing, going door to door, visiting people, meeting people in the community so they can see that we can thrive, that if I succeeded, you can succeed. Just ask me how, and I'll tell you. I'll guide you there. It is absolutely important to have, people that you can look up to. I myself, I'm looking for someone, that I can follow, and I don't necessarily can find it. So if there's no one there and I am struggling to find it, someone else probably will. So why can't I just help, that person becoming someone that can be trusted, someone that can people can look up to and ask for help.
Yeah. When it comes to the variety of things that you've done, we already talked about several different organizations that you've gotten involved in and had a hand in some really big contributions. Are there things that stand out to you as ones that were particularly important projects that you were really excited to have a hand in?
The Spanish courses. Those are, I think, one of my biggest accomplishments. And this was not by all means my only effort, like only me. There's a whole bunch of people behind it. And the initiative of York Reads, I was able to bring in books from schools that were closing in Puerto Rico. I think that was very, very meaningful because of the crises. More than 500 schools have been closing, and we were able to recuperate some of those books and bring them here for Latino families and for non-Latino families that are interested in learning Spanish, so they can communicate with their kids and families. In fact, we're actually working with the Mexican government now to bring more books this year. I think those are the main ones that I'm really most proud about.
Cool. That's exciting. How often do you get to go back to Puerto Rico or see family from there?
I try to go twice a year, and I am blessed. I mean, my family, they come often. Yeah. So I had my mom here 3 times in probably less than 3 months. Oh, wow. So that's amazing. Cool. That's nice. Now, of course, I just bought a new house and it's a little bit more difficult, but I cannot let 1 year go by without going back.
I mean, that's awesome that you make that a priority and you have the ability to. It's tough to visit family when they're not close. When it comes to the home that you just bought, which congratulations
Thank you.
On that. You've been working very hard.
Yes.
How cool was that for you to, you initially came here, maybe stick around with the boyfriend and get to know him, and now you guys are really building this future and this life here. How does that feel?
I mean, I honestly didn't think I was going to be this far this quick. I knew I was going to get there at some point, but it totally surprised me that it's been happening like full speed. So it's just great. And I think, again, this is just another opportunity to show people that you can do it. Yeah. I mean, I never thought I was going to buy a new house being 27 years old, but the opportunity was there and I took it. So, yeah.
What are other things for yourself that you want to do? Do you have these goals for involvement or, impacts that you would like to make that you just haven't gotten around to yet because you've been so busy already? What does that look like for you? What do you hope that you can really, really do here?
I want to be a truly transformative force. I really want to influence people in the right way. I just want to empower everybody to be their best self and to live to their full potential. I want to help people, build programs or make programs accessible for people to get good paying jobs, to provide them access to good education and higher education and career and technical education so they can further, their lives. I'm just looking for the opportunity to come and trying to build those things.
Yeah. So I know you spend a lot of time rolling up your sleeves, and making an impact, and I think that's amazing stuff, what you do. But I'm curious what you do in York County to blow off steam. What are the places or things that you do to, just get out in the county or do other things? Or there are things that you've really been drawn to or that you enjoy doing?
I like our breweries. I have to say that.
Okay.
I do try to go out every now and then to have some good craft beer.
Sure.
And basically just be outdoors. I really enjoy nature, so being outdoors is something that I really like.
Okay, very cool. I think that's your phone. We're going to let it go, though. She's busy right now. Her phone is vibrating, but we're going to move on.
Oh, bye. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Are there things in particular when you bring your family? I'm always curious for people, especially when you're not from around here, because I know what we do, like when my in-laws visit. What do you do with your family when they come in from out of town to kind of introduce them to this is York? And maybe they have visited often enough that they have a good feel for it. But what are the things that you like to do to kind of get their feet wet into York County?
We definitely go downtown. I'll go to the Central Market and walk around. And I always try to take them to the places that I've been working in. Just neighborhoods that we've been doing different initiatives. We go around and say, hey, I did this here, I did that there. So it's just a different way for them to know our areas.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I like that
and
idea.
then we always go to Philly because my mom was born there.
Oh, that's cool.
And we still have family there, so we go there and visit often too.
That's very cool. When it comes to what York has done, I know in particular, I think because I think the Latino community has done a really good job of catching the attention of the non-Latino community to say, these are things that need addressed, that need to be done. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on what is it that we can do going forward to help that conversation continue, to have those open conversations. What do you think continues to be a need?
Representation, definitely. We have a lot of people, a lot of organizations doing great things for the Latino community, but unfortunately we're not part of those conversations. So being able to take part in the conversations that are about, the Latino community, it's the first step, honestly. And then, of course, educate people on our culture and how we got here. I think it's extremely important to take down those barriers.
I think, obviously, when you say Latino community, that is representative of a lot of different people. Puerto Rico in particular, what do you wish it is that York Countyans knew or understood better about where it is that you call home?
Many people, when you talk about Puerto Ricans here, believe that we're not engaged enough, and I think it's a trust issue. We have a lot of problems in Puerto Rico, and when we come here, we are kind of scared that those issues are also going to happen here. So it's a matter of building relationships and building trust to be able, for Puerto Ricans to be able to engage in the way that we should be engaging.
Okay. I think finally, I'm really curious to know with, again, we've kind of talked about the variety of things that you've done. Are there gaps that you see that other people can be of assistance with? So, what can I do as a general member of the population that you would encourage those to just kind of get involved or help in some of the efforts that have already been made by yourself and others? How can, the regular individual also roll up their sleeves and get in there?
I think that looking up the organizations that are doing work for our community and seeing where you fit in those is a first step. And then also, if you know any Latinos, if you're related to any Latino, just spread the word. educate other people and talk about the people that many people have this one image about Latinos and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and Mexicans, but the reality is that we're not necessarily those things that people like to mention, the mainstream media usually mentions. So I think that educating people is key to, understand each other. And not only, from non-Latinos to Latinos, but also from Latinos to non-Latinos. It is our responsibility to know about American culture. It is our responsibility to know about our history so we don't repeat it. So I think it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, for talking a little bit about yourself, for telling us a little bit about your background. I really appreciate it. I think it was great.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and looking forward to continuing the work.
Thanks so much for listening. For more information on Our York Media and our Good News Initiative, you can visit ouryorkmedia.com. We appreciate your attention and give bonus points for those who subscribe. We want to thank Gladfelter Insurance Group for sponsoring this episode. The Our York Media podcast is produced by Will Hanlon and Caleb Robertson. I'm Rebecca Hanlon. Thanks so much for listening.